And then I looked behind it and there's a flame shooting up behind the brakes. So I started out tracking in a Mazda Miata. Nothing new there. A lot of people do it and there's good reason for it. Problem is, after a while, you start realizing a lot of your friends are a lot faster. And it's not necessarily based on skill. And that's what's so tough. It's like, man, I feel like I'm an incredible driver, but I can't keep up with them because as soon as we get to a straightaway, they're gone. And then people are holding me up around turns. Really frustrating. So let's go faster. All right, what do? You add power to your Miata? That's really tough. You go turbo, you have heating issues, all kinds of problems like that. Okay, that's not the answer. Well, let's get a faster car. Awesome. So naturally go pick up a BMW 135i, right? It's small, it's got a straight six, everybody knows that's great. Twin turbos, like super tunable and 300 horsepower. What could go wrong? Apparently a lot. I picked up a 135i, only took it to the track twice. One time it left on a flatbed, just a battery issue, I think. The other time, I threw 14 codes. It was terrifying. The entire fuel system basically gave out. I had a little tune on the car, so I think it was pretty much just a preview of what was to come. Took the tune off, traded in, I was done with it. Next car I picked up was a Honda S2000. Amazing car, beautiful. I picked up a pristine example. You know, honestly, I watched Doug DeMuro's video. There was that beautiful yellow AP2 that he reviewed. I was like, that's it. Not even a week later, I went and picked up a Rio Yellow S2000 AP2. It was a 2004. Loved that car. I was so terrified of ruining it and ruining its value. As soon as I got it, I taped up the whole front end in painter's tape, and I took my time, and it looked brilliant. And a bunch of people said it looked like the Spoon S2000 because it's got that yellow and blue going on. And I took it up to the mountains, loved it up there, took it on the track. And the first time I went through turn 16 at AMP, which is the highest speed turn, and it's got a little bit of a over crest. It's a little bit of a nervous turn in just about any car. It was terrifying in the S2000. Search for AMP wreck on YouTube. You'll find tons of videos of people wrecking, and usually it's right there. I even found one with an S2000 right into the wall. So that's going through my mind when I'm coming through this turn. And one time I took it a little too fast, had to correct, barely saved it. And from that on, I wouldn't push it through that turn. I recognized there was a couple things I could do. I could get over the fear and just really push it and maybe wreck the car. I could modify the car. Suspension, people have claimed that there's ways to get around that. Everybody seems to claim that a rear wing is the solution for that car. The way I saw it was a rear wing was kind of covering up a problem and raising the bar. And now at a higher speed, things are going to start to go wrong. And that's not what I wanted to do. One, it could build bad habits. And two, it could be really dangerous when I finally got to that edge. So I was in a tough predicament there. I loved that car, but it just wasn't suiting my needs on the track. Thankfully, I was able to sell it and get a decent price for it, just like I was worried about losing that potential. I was able to sell it to a gentleman, and I still stay in contact with him. He invites me out to events all the time, and so I still get to visit my car. He's loving it. It's living a good life still, so that worked out. My next purchase was this brilliant Toyota 86. So if you look at the market today and you're looking for lightweight cars that are sporty and built for performance driving, there's not a lot of options. It blows my mind that the new Miata, the ND Miata, is 2,300 pounds and passes all modern safety, has all the airbags. I don't know how they do it. And there's a reason that most don't. The next best answer to that in the price bracket is the Toyota 86, Scion FRS, Subaru BRZ, Toyota GT86, you name it. We're talking about the same car here. I went to California and I rented on Turo a ND Miata, and then I rented a Toyota 86. I got to try these back to back in one of the most beautiful parts of the country and drive around through glorious back roads. Even took the Toyota 86 out on a dry lake bed, which was really fun. And after experiencing the two cars, I realized that the Toyota made sense. I loved driving it. It was still lightweight and sporty. and it was really interesting. So I went home and I bought the same exact car. I bought a red Toyota 86, looked just like it. And the one I was able to find had a lemon law buyback from California. There's a local dealership that kind of specializes in that. I was able to pick up that car for 6 or 7,000 less than I'd find an equivalent car anywhere else. And the claimed issue was just a low idle issue. Like, it's a manual car. These things kind of bog a little bit when you kick the AC on. Maybe it's just something like that. So I picked up the car and really didn't give me any issues. Took it to the track and absolutely loved how the thing handled. Now, after a while, I tried to talk myself out of the fact that everyone says, oh, the car's slow. The car's slow, the car's slow. And I took it out on track and eventually started to feel like maybe the car's slow. As much as I didn't want to believe that, I started to feel that way. On the street, especially on the stock tires, it's perfect. It's such a fun mountain carver. It's such a fun sporty car that you can feel the dynamics. I love driving it around town, but when you take it on track and you put sticky tires on it, you start to feel some of those issues. So what I love to do with my cars is just experience everything I can out of them. So the first thing I did is I took it on the track and I took it on the skid pad and then I drove it all the way across the country. I set aside 9 days to go drive an iconic track I've always wanted to do. That was Laguna Seca. So I made my way out to Laguna Seca, hit up Pikes Peak on the trip, just did all those experiences, went out, had a blast, and yeah, there's some caveats there. Like, I had slightly stickier tires. It was the newer model, whatever. I was within 1 second of Randy Pope's lap time, and I will forever hold that as a badge of honor. So I love taking that car around. It was so nice to live with on the trip. And I brought it back. I continued to track it. And I was really starting to contemplate, what is the answer? How do I add more power? How do I get more fun out of this car? Do I strip it down? Do I try to run in a spec series? And I was working all this out. And then this unfortunate thing happened and it totaled the car. Things happen. This is just life. But it gave me a unique opportunity to really think through, is this the right car? Now, I didn't spend a ton of money on that car, but 20 grand was a lot for me to just replace out of pocket had I lost it on track. Obviously, insurance was able to kick in on the street, but track is a different situation. So with that in mind, I was looking around the market and I remembered how much I loved the chassis from the 135 and hated all the issues with the turbos. So I picked up a 128i. Because of all the issues of the 135, 135s are pretty cheap in the used market. Well, nobody wants to pay more for a 128, so they're even cheaper. I paid $5,800 for this somewhat high mileage car with a mismatched paint on the door, and it's not a perfect car by any means. That being said, it's an incredibly capable platform. Without the turbos and with the same motor essentially, cooling's not an issue, and asking the 230 stock horsepower out of that big 3-liter is nothing. I can flog it on track all day long. That's not going to be a problem. Here's the part of the calculation that makes this really interesting. It's still a 3,200-ish pound car. That's heavy. My issue with heavy cars on track is now consumables get expensive. Yes, you paid $5,800 for a car, but what are tires going to cost? What are brakes going to cost? Most people don't think about this when they're car shopping because, well, how often do you really do that? On the street, not that often. On track, it's very different, especially in a heavier car. The reason I could justify this car was bigger tires are a little more expensive. Cars a little heavier, that will cost more. But there's this little trick. This company called FCP Euro offers parts with a lifetime warranty. And when they say lifetime warranty, this isn't just lip service. They mean go buy a jug of oil, pour your old oil in that jug, mail it back, and then your next set's free. They're that serious about it. And they even say it on their website. They said if we sold tires, we'd allow you to put our old ones back and buy new ones. Wink, that's why they don't sell tires. It's a bit of a marketing strategy by them, and it's very interesting. So the way I saw it was, brakes and tires will cost significantly more in this car. But if I don't have to pay for brakes and just tires, I'm not paying much more. I've got more capability. I've got a smoother ride, a bigger interior so I can fit passengers of all sizes. Believe it or not, I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day, 6 foot on Tinder. But when I get in a Miata, I don't pass broomstick. So my head's too high with a helmet on. I don't even fit in a Miata. So getting people to fit in a Miata is difficult. And as an instructor, I like to give ride-alongs. It's a great way to reinforce things. So I needed a bigger interior car. This 1 Series fit that. So fast forward, I start taking it on track. I love it. I realize, wow, this thing, you can't dial in camber, you destroy tires. Cool. $1,000 coilover system, came with camber plates, solved that problem. Awesome. Getting good wear, even lifting a tire through turns, which is hilarious fun. And everybody's running up to me and saying, oh man, did you know you're lifting a tire? Really cool. So I'm loving this car, but the brakes aren't quite keeping up. To be expected. Cool, I'll just rotate through them. All right, rotors are still free. Let's step up and pad and see if we can solve this problem. 128 comes with single piston caliper, brakes up front, and it's okay. And with a better pad, it's starting to kind of hold together for a day or two. But after a while, I'm starting to put a lot of heat through the system, starting to have issues. I was running a really good pad. I was at Road Atlanta for our driving club day. Coming down into 10A, after a couple laps, I'm like, man, something doesn't feel right. Like I have no power when I come out of here and it kind of skips around. I wonder what's going on. Well, after a couple laps, it started getting worse. All right, let's not take chances. I'm gonna roll into the pits. So I roll into the pits and I'm just trying to stay off the brake as much as I can, just get some airflow through there. Let's cool off those brakes. I pull into a spot and stop, get out, come around the car, and if you've ever watched a night race with IMSA or something like that, when they go into the braking zones, the brake rotors glow bright red. It's so cool. But the moment they start accelerating again, it cools off. My car parked looked like that, just glowing red. And then I looked behind it and there's a flame shooting up behind the brakes. Full panic mode now. I run over to through the paddock. I'm like, anybody have a fire extinguisher? I grab one, I run back over there, and I'm like, man, I don't want this mess. If this fire is gonna go out, I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm ready to go though if the fire takes on. Sure enough, the flame went out and the rotors are still just glowing red. And then all of a sudden I hear ting, ting. The wheel weights that are glued onto the wheel, the glue melted and they literally just fell off the wheel. I mean, that's how hot it was. I had my gloves on. I was just grabbing the outside of the tire and it was almost too hot to touch through my gloves. It was absolute insanity. I had just waited out. That day was toast. So it was clear to me that this brake setup is not enough. My next move is I went and got the brake calipers from 135i. I found a used set. They are 6-piston, huge front calipers. And so clearly BMW was aware that it needs a big brake system. So I'm still able to get my rotors from FCP. I'm even able to get pads from there. My next move is to try this out. So costs just keep racking up and it's a really difficult situation. I won't lie and say that I'm not reconsidering a Miata again because there's so much fun to be had in that car and the consumables are so much cheaper. And that's just a little bit of what goes through your head as a track enthusiast.
You're here because you like a good car story. But let's be honest, we probably watched enough YouTube videos for a lifetime during the pandemic. It's time to get out of the house and make a story of your own. Extreme Experience puts you in the driver's seat of some of the world's most exciting cars, like this 2020 Corvette C8, at over 30 racetracks across the country. And right now, we're giving away $50,000 for the track experiences and 30% off everything on our website. Head to xxspeed.com to learn more today.